First and foremost, I want to extend a heartfelt welcome to our faculty, staff, and families who are here celebrating with us, and to those who are watching on the YouTube live stream. And most of all, to the resilient, determined class of 2025. Give yourselves a big round of applause. You did it. We made it. Holding the title of PTK chapter president has never been about me. It's always been about us. It's been about showing up for one another, listening to each other's stories, and lending a hand or a word of encouragement when it mattered the most. It's been about witnessing the quiet strengths of classmates who juggle work, family, and classes, yet still showed up with heart and that grit. During my time here at LaGuardia, I had the privilege of being part of many meaningful experiences. I first began in a learning community, studying infectious diseases with Dr. Richard Gupta. And then after my second semester, I challenged myself with a straight honors semester, presenting multiple research posters at the ASAC's Honors Conference, and as well as taking a role as the editorial chief in ASAC, publishing our 2024 Florida newsletter. At first, I thought I was crazy, but looking back, I felt proud of pushing beyond the limits. And then soon after, I became one of the first interns in LaGuardia's partnership with Columbia's Herbert Irving Comprehensive Cancer Center in helping to bridge a path for students to explore cancer research at a world-class institution. I then joined the President's Society as an ambassador, helping me to build a better prepared in the workforce. I got to learn valuable skills in public speaking and elevator speeches and interviewing skills. Special thanks to Stefania, Karen, and Juliet. Your mentorship helped not just me, but our entire cohort grow and advance. Later, I became an NIH Bridge Scholar and returning back to the lab with Dr. Gupta alongside my best friend, Sabrina Singha. Then came PTK. With the support of Dr. Truzzo and our amazing advisors, we hosted leadership workshops and helped students across to access scholarships and gave a voice to the stories through our Honors in Action research, The Power of Preserving Stories. Through that work, students shared emotions, memories, and identities through research that honored their truth. We also volunteered at the Sports Illustrated Stadium for the American Lung Association, supporting survivors and firefighters' fight against lung disease. I also had the privilege of serving as the vice chair of Student Government's Election Review Committee and even participated at the 2025 Somos Conference and Model Senate up in Albany, New York. But all these moments taught me something much deeper. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about service. It's about standing with your peers and through challenges and through change. Many of us arrived here at LaGuardia unsure of what came next. Some of us were first to our families to attend college. Some of us were starting over and trying again, or even fighting through grief. We worked long hours, we cared for our siblings, and we commuted across boroughs, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And from those struggles, we rose. Like a phoenix, we rose from the ashes of doubt and difficulty and uncertainty, reborn with purpose and forged by experience and glowing with new fire. LaGuardia didn't just prepare us academically. It believed in us before we believed in ourselves. It gave us a space to grow, to stumble, and to rise again. Because transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in community. And the professors who stayed after class, and the friends who offered a listening ear, and to the advisors who said, you got this, just when we needed it the most. So what comes next? Maybe it's a senior college, maybe it's a new job, or maybe it's a blank page. And that's okay, because we already know how to begin again, and we already know how to rise. Let us carry forward the lessons of LaGuardia gave us in resilience, kindness, and determination, and the radical idea that education can and should change lives. To our families, thank you. And for every sacrifice, and to our faculty and staff, thank you for your guidance and patience. And for my fellow graduates, thank you for teaching me and each other what it truly means to rise together. Let's leave here not just with degrees, with purpose. Not just ready for the world, but ready to ignite it. Congratulations, class of 2025. We didn't just rise, we rose like a phoenix, and we're just getting started.
When I was a single mother at 15, or homeless in Washington, D.C. at 21, or finally graduating from college at 55, I never thought I'd be sitting on a stage receiving an honorary degree from Hunter College. But I really want to say to you from the bottom of my heart that you never know where life is going to take you. And you don't know how what you've been through prepares you for the moment that you're in. So don't regret your experiences. Plumb them, use them, treasure them, because you will be better than you thought you could be if you understand that. And I want to speak a moment to those of us who have a radical analysis about how the world operates, who criticize white supremacy and neoliberalism and all the injustices that are out there. The word that I want to speak is don't have that radical analysis without radical love practices too. We need to learn to handle our passion with compassion, because it's not enough to be right, you also have to be kind. And by the way, people who forget that lesson, show them to be the amateurs that they are. Because everybody who has struggled against oppression effectively have understood that how you do the work is as important as the work that you do. I think that many of us are trauma-driven instead of being trauma-informed, and that's a real problem, because you're always more than what happened to you. But if you fail to hold yourself accountable, how in the world can you expect to hold somebody else accountable? It doesn't work like that. So I want to talk about what I call my four intelligences. I am trying really hard to learn about emotional intelligence, the ability to self-regulate so that I don't inflict my trauma on other people who generally don't deserve it. And there's cultural intelligence to make sure that I don't see myself and my issues as the center of the world. We need humility. We need understanding. And then the third intelligence that I work so hard on is relational intelligence, to make sure that I right-size my relationships to other people in my life so that I don't replace reality with false expectations, because that doesn't do nothing but lead you into trouble. When you're going around trying to make people be who they're not intended to be just because you're insecure about who you are. But the intelligence that most matters for me is integrity intelligence. I really want to understand my internal conflicts. I want to address the injustices by my friends and my family, but I also want to do it with kindness, love, and respect. I don't want to make the world more cruel now than it needs to be. and calling myself fighting for justice. Justice, it doesn't have to be cruel. That's a choice. I also want to learn to accept that I'm not perfect, and I should stop going around expecting perfection of the people that I need to work with. You got to own your own contradictions and stop imposing purity politics on everybody else as if you're not still growing, as if you're not still learning. And so I want to say in closing, because I've talked too long, I like to talk. On April 15th, my mentor, Leonard Zeskin, died. He was the guy who taught me how to fight the Ku Klux Klan and the neo-Nazi movement. He taught hundreds of anti-fascist people how to do this work, fighting against white supremacy. But Lenny always told me when I was taking myself too seriously, he always said, fighting Nazis should be fun. It's being a Nazi that sucks. Let's be clear. If you are not having fun fighting for human rights, justice, and freedom, check yourself because you're doing something wrong. We should have joy in being on the right side of history. And so congratulations, class of 2025. My God, I'm very, very proud of you, and thank you.
I want to congratulate my fellow graduates here today from the CUNY SLU class of 2025. I want us to take a moment to take a deep breath because we made it through this chapter, reinvigorated with the knowledge, community, and resilience to take on the causes that drive us. Let's take that moment to breathe together now. If we didn't have causes to drive us, I know we would probably be doing something else somewhere else. Not something worse or less valuable, but something different. We had certain objectives that brought us here, brought us to SLU, brought us to a school that is exceptionally different. The truths we examined were that these unprecedented times were indeed precedented, and the acute erosion of rights and dignity for marginalized folks was not an anomaly, but rather a continuation of historical patterns. That's what led us to SLU, a desire to pay attention to power structures and build a different kind of power, one that can strive to be for collective benefit. And so I would be remiss here if I did not give a speech that it was at least somewhat different. So I wrote a poem. I didn't have time to write my speech because the D train went local, because there was pizza on the 14th floor, because my friends and neighbors live in fear, torn from homes, sent back to lands they can't thrive in, and held hostage by global forces beyond their control. I didn't have time to write my speech because Mom Donnie hasn't made the buses free just yet, because 16 credits way heavier than they sound, and so does 40 hours a week, without protection from the economic precarity lying in wait, without assurances of better times, when it will feel safe to speak out about the injustices towards others. I didn't have time to write my speech because of a committee's committee meeting, because of unprecedented call volume, and we still can't find a living wage to support ourselves or a family, or a democratic workplace. Because I'm mourning the loss of life and livelihood suffered by my loved ones and those I don't know due to senseless gun violence and war and a lack of adequate mental health care. I didn't have time to write my speech because campuses around us are unsafe, where student voices are stifled from speaking out amidst a campaign of fear and retribution, while children in hospitals are being bombed and wars waged over lands I hardly learned of in secondary school. I didn't have time to write my speech because if I'd been born elsewhere or with a different skin, bars could have caged me instead of this podium. But as I toured pivotal street corners and pondered the meaning of a right to the city, I knew I had to write my speech. I'm stuck with the question of how my voice can amplify others and not overshadow or distort. I don't know what words can bridge the graduation I missed in 2020 or speak for every student here. But speaking up is always better than silence. And the students here are anything but. Thank you all for this journey together, and I can't wait to advocate on the front lines with you. Thank you.
Nothing in my life has prepared me for this radical moment of feeling acknowledged. I'm usually the invisible one, and here today with you fills me with so much pride and joy. It is a privilege to stand here before this glorious body of 3,754 graduates. Here, I see people who are ready to take this upside-down world and hold it steady, restore it. Yeah. And you're going to lead it to justice. You have earned your diplomas with such hard work, and with them, you now hold the power to be effective, each of you, in your own way. And I feel bonded to you today. I'm humbled and grateful to be standing here. I want to thank the faculty of John Jay College of Criminal Justice, Shauna, all of you, for seeing the value in my work and bringing me into the fold of some of the most esteemed educators in this country. I want to thank President Carol Mason for approving it. A visionary leader she is, whose own career has been dedicated to justice and equity. This is an incredible honor. And I see the work that she does every day to shape a more just and compassionate world. Today is a day to believe in who we are, not just what we've achieved, but what we stand for. When I was young, I did not have a chance to pursue higher education. I married early, supported my husband when he went to law school. Years later, after divorce and reinvention, I picked up a camera and taught myself how to tell stories, real stories, through photography. As a photojournalist, working for magazines like Life, Time, and People, I began documenting the hidden epidemic of violence in the home. I rode with the police from New York City to Alaska on 911 calls over thousands of hours. And I saw women and children living in conditions that resembled prisoner of war camps. And I was sickened by the silence surrounding the abuse. That is the way society expected women to endure it. But women have never consented to live as prisoners in their own homes. So I set out to expose the truth. And like Johnny Appleseed, I used my camera and my voice to plant seeds of outrage, awareness, and to encourage action. So activists took up my photographs, and lawmakers finally saw them and they could no longer look away. And then legislation began to change, and that's how real change happens. You make the problems visible. You tell the story. You tell your story, and you stand in the light of the truth no matter how uncomfortable it makes people feel. And there has never been a more urgent time to fight for justice. So I stand humbly before you today, and I make this pledge that no matter what happens to me, no matter how hard some people may try to keep silencing me, I will not stop working for the rights of women and children. Women and children deserve to live free, joyful, and expanded lives. That is the legacy that I am honored to pass on to you today. Thank you for listening. And whenever you find yourself in doubt about what is right, what is possible, I hope that you're going to think of me and hear my words. Trust. Oh, yeah, that's so beautiful. Trust yourself. Trust in yourself. Trust your instincts. Stand up and never give up. And now I want you to please just like look at me with all the love in your heart. And so I'm going to take your picture, okay? Because that's the way I speak to you. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at that. Thank you so much. I love you all very much. And I want to... Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. And I want to thank my daughter who's here with me today, because without her, I wouldn't be here anymore. I want to thank my father, my mother. They're all up there in the sky, but they're rooting for me. This is a big day for all of the Ferratos, the Dr. Ferrato family. Thank you.
To the friends, family, and loved ones here today, thank you. I'm sure I speak for us all when I say this day belongs to you too. Your patience, support, and sacrifices over the years helped us to reach this milestone and kept us going on the days we weren't sure we could. And yes, we're done. Maybe now we can finally explain what we do. Our research might seem as unintelligible as a doctor's handwriting, but what we've accomplished here is simple, not in effort, but in essence. We found in ourselves the resolve to commit to an idea, and regardless of the demands, the intensity, and the setbacks, we found the courage to stay the course and not look away. For me, that idea was to better understand destruction from war and disaster as an earth scientist, and by developing algorithms using satellite data, I mapped unprecedented devastation in the Gaza Strip, widespread damage in southern Lebanon, damage in Ukraine equivalent to Manhattan bombed 5 times over, most recently thousands of homes lost to wildfires in Los Angeles. Now, full of new understanding, discernment, and in my case, some new gray hair, we know that we have what it takes to not go gently into that good night. We know how to stretch the limits of our endurance because we made it here despite significant obstacles. A pandemic, campus shutdowns, research delays, and what felt like endless revisions. Revisions so endless that even 2 weeks ago, the Grad Center asked us to double-check the spelling of our own names for today's program. At some point, I spelled my own name wrong, and I had to revise that at the last minute, too. But now we're here to finally cross the finish line of this intellectual marathon. As we leave through the doors of David Geffen Hall, many of us do so as newly minted masters, and many as newly minted doctors. The new doctors are now ready for the moment we've all been waiting for, when we're sitting on a plane and the captain comes on the intercom and says, "Passengers, we have a non-medical emergency." We think to ourselves, this is it. The captain continues, "We need someone who can explore restorative justice pathways as practices to foster belonging in New York City transfer schools." That's a dissertation from today's program, and congratulations to Dr. Miguel Rodriguez. This non-medical emergency could happen anytime, anywhere, even in a place like David Geffen Hall. We would have to interrupt regular programming to ask the entire crowd, "Is there a doctor in the house?" Yes, today there are over 300 more, and a lot of masters too. But we can only help with things like an emergency peer review on settler colonialism or a crash course in neural mechanisms of context-sensitive behavior in the adult male zebra finch. That's another dissertation title, and congratulations to Dr. Catherine L. Anderson. Jokes aside, we graduate at a time when the value of rigorous academic communities like ours couldn't be more important. We develop advanced technology, research difficult diseases, and engage directly, often at the forefront, with the more fraught social and political issues of our time. We do that together with deep, sometimes all-encompassing commitment. The support of those around us, we walk across this stage today committed to the ideas that brought us here and to continuing the work in some form or another. I really couldn't be more honored to be here. The lessons, values, and spirit of New York City's public university will always make me proud to call the CUNY Graduate Center my alma mater. So thank you all. Congratulations, graduates. Get out there, make good choices, stay the course, and never look away.
The reason why you're here from all different countries in the world, as the flags show outside this tent, the reason why we all here has one word: opportunity. Opportunity. And opportunity is something that during these troubling times is being attempted to be ripped away from our hands. So you must value opportunity, because it is the one thing that will open that door for you. As people try to shut doors across America, it will be opportunity that will continue to make this nation what it is and what it must continue to be. So I urge you to continue to fight for opportunity. Now, I worked with your president and with the chancellor, because I think that the best investment in government, whether you are in the city council, whether you are in the state legislature or in the U.S. Congress, the best investment you could make for New York City is to invest in CUNY. Is to invest in CUNY. And so we have worked together with the Chancellor and your President Milton Santiago and the trustees to invest in the Charles B. Rangel Initiative for Infrastructure and Workforce Development at City College. We have worked to ensure that the Dominican Studies Institute at City College and the Mexican Studies Institute at Lehman College and El Centro for Puerto Rican Studies at Hunter College get the resources that they need so we could keep opportunity open for all of you. That CUNY in the Heights for BMCC continues to keep its door open. That the Automotive Technology Center here at BCC continues to provide cutting-edge technology and training for students. That's opportunity, right? And that's what we need to do for you. So you, I know, hear all the time that you are part of the future. I will challenge that and say that you are not only part of the future, but you are very much part of today, the present. And so we must continue to work to ensure that you get that opportunity. We must continue to work to ensure that the door is left open. And the only way we're going to move forward as a country is if you have the training, the education that you're getting right here in BCC to ensure that our country and our city continue to move forward. So I thank your families. I'm going to ask of you one thing, because we must be grateful to those around us that have also given us the opportunities. Because you stand here not alone. You stand in the shoulders of other people. So I'm going to ask you to stand up for a second, look to the side, stand up everybody, look to the side, and say thank you to your family. Okay, you can sit down now. So, I close by saying this. Don't be discouraged. Don't be deterred. Don't dismay. The future is in your hands. You are no longer in the back room. You're in the front room. You are the leaders of this city. You are the leaders of this nation, and you are the leaders of this world. So continue to move forward, unafraid. Make sure that you lift someone up every single day. Ensure that you say thank you to your parents on a regular basis. But most importantly, move forward to make this country move forward with you, to make sure that all ships rise at the same time. Thank you so much. Keep the faith, and the Knicks in 7 games.
After 4 years of shared Google Docs that mysteriously updated at 3 a.m. and endless Macaulay seminars, we're here, graduating. And in person. I know many of us had virtual high school graduations, and to be physically present with each other is truly a gift. I mean, 4 years ago, it was unimaginable, because our start to college was anything but normal. Half of our classes were on Zoom, and the other half were in person, but somehow still felt virtual because we were 6 feet apart and masked up. I remember doing a pig dissection my first semester with a lab partner while remaining socially distant. You try identifying organs from the opposite end of a lab bench. Pause for laughter. That was in parentheses, my bad. Like many of you, I came into college with a clear idea of who I was going to be and how everything would unfold. After all, we're Macaulay students. We're the ones with the color-coded Google calendars, the 5.0 GPAs, the I took 8 classes in one semester for fun energy. And I thought I was that too. I was sure of it. But then in my sophomore year, I failed organic chemistry. Okay. Technically, I withdrew the day before finals. I knew if I didn't, I'd get an F. But what really stunned me wasn't just the grade. It was how long I had been pretending everything was fine. I kept telling myself I could pull it together, but in reality, I was terrified to admit that I wasn't the perfect Macaulay student. I just read that line, hold on. When I finally clicked that withdraw button, it wasn't even just about saving my GPA. It felt like I was admitting something I didn't want to believe. Maybe I didn't belong here. The next semester, I didn't return with some big redemption arc. I came back quietly, still carrying the weight of that W, but finally ready to stop pretending everything was fine. I retook organic chemistry, but this time, I let myself admit I was struggling. Sure, I went to office hours more, and I had a study group, but I also stopped trying to live up to the image I thought I had to project, and that's when something finally started to shift. It wasn't the end of a path, just the end of pretending. And I know I'm not alone in that. Maybe you didn't fail a class, but maybe you bombed an interview. Maybe you switched majors 3 times. Maybe you didn't get into grad school this cycle. Whatever it was, we've all had to adapt. We've all had to let go of the illusion that everything would go as planned and trust in what the present is offering. Because that's what being a Macaulay student really means. It's not just about the GPAs and LinkedIn-worthy accomplishments. It's about conviction, the quiet kind that gets you out of bed after failure, and adaptability, the kind that lets you pivot and rebuild even when the plan changes. We're not here because everything went perfectly. We're here because we refuse to give up when it didn't. As we leave here today, the future might not look exactly how we imagined it. The unexpected has always shaped us, and it always will. So no matter where you go next, grad school, corporate life, or even just figuring it out one day at a time, remember what got you here. Some of us might have a 4.0, and others might have taken 8 classes in one semester. But what all of us have is resilience and conviction. That's what got us into Macaulay, carried us through, and will stay with us far into the future. Congratulations, Macaulay Class of 2025.
Now, it has long been true that City College students are impressive, but this class has gone through more than many who came before you. Most of you entered during COVID-19, a global pandemic that killed over 6 million people worldwide, including 50,000 New Yorkers, and isolated us in ways with no modern precedent. And you're graduating amidst a very different kind of crisis, as Donald Trump works to dismantle the framework that City College rests on, attacking higher education, attacking immigration, attacking diversity, attacking democracy. And of course, that's not an exhaustive list of the crises we face. The climate crisis looms, authoritarianism is rising all around the world. I'm guessing for some of you, like my son, the Knicks collapse in Game 1 against the Acers is one of the crises of our time. Go Knicks, Knicks in 7, they're at any given time. The one that pretty other crisis, Ben. The Professor Adam Tooze calls our moment one of polycrisis, a lot of them all at once, and it makes it all the more impressive, even than all those incredible past generations of City College students that you persisted, that you learned in your classes, that you got involved on campus, that you showed your brilliance and creativity, and that you are graduating today. As individuals, you have shown remarkable resilience in the face of all those crises. The question I want to pose for you today is about our collective response to crisis. In her book, A Paradise Built in Hell, Rebecca Stolnit identifies a series of disasters over the better part of a century that brought PE together in powerful and even beautiful ways. From the 1906 San Francisco earthquake to the lower Ninth Ward after Hurricane Katrina, Stolnit charts how ordinary people, faced with devastation, turned toward each other, rushed in to rescue one another. New York City experienced at least one crisis like that in your lifetime, and that was Superstorm Sandy. Many of you were young then, but some of you I see who are a little older are nodding because New Yorkers of all backgrounds sprang into action during that crisis, rushing to hard-hit neighborhoods, donating time and resources to keep their neighbors sheltered, clothed, housed, alive. I, at the time, was a first-term city council member in Brooklyn, and our community stood up a shelter in an old armory building for 500 frail elderly who had lost their homes. And over the course of those next weeks, I witnessed one example after another of New Yorkers who, instead of being consumed by the catastrophe, took heroic acts of courage and care to look out for complete strangers. Now, the crises in the past few years have definitely led to some real examples of solidarity. Mutual aid groups sprung up during the pandemic, I know, right here on campus and throughout the city. But I think there's broad agreement that the current crises we're facing are doing more to tear us apart than they are to bring us together. So the question I want to pose to you today as you get set to graduate out into the world is, why do some crises bring us together, promote that organized compassion, and some others, like the ones of the past few years, seem to pull us apart? And I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to suggest a couple of reasons and what they mean for our shared future. I welcome your better ideas and even more your work to change it. First, I worry that our capacity for empathy is being hacked. I've heard some people say as they watch the devastating cuts that Congress is proposing to healthcare, to food stamps, to housing, well, just wait until they go into effect. When people see how it's harming folks, they'll start to get together and oppose that. But I have to be honest, I don't know if that's true. The dizzying news cycle, economic uncertainty, social media, they steal our attention. Though we are, by some measures, more connected than ever before, the algorithms that dictate our experiences seem to drain that connection. And then in the political landscape, as autocrats have throughout history, Trump and others are trying to coerce us into some zero-sum insular thinking, to be occupied only with yourself and with self-concern, and then to give you someone else to blame. Immigrants, trans folks, anyone else. Even though those folks have nothing to do with the problems we're actually facing, like rising inflation or housing prices. The author Dahlia Lithwick recently wrote, "It is not so much that most Americans are without basic empathy, but rather that we're being forced to ration it and to serve ourselves first. Our ability to see each other's full humanity is being eroded." Now, to sharpen this point, and at some risk, I want to bring in one other crisis that has marked your time in college, if you've even been hearing about it today. This one half a world away, when Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th, killing over 1,200 people, and then Israel's brutal response, killing over 50,000 people, so many of them children, with hundreds of thousands now facing starvation, bombing, and mass displacement. And even though this crisis is half a world away, it has reverberated on this and many other campuses around the country. Now, I was the first Jewish elected official in New York to call for a ceasefire in Gaza, but I'm not here today to speak to you about the issue. As the protests continue to show, there are strong feelings, and of course, not everyone agrees about them. But what I want to observe is this. The brutality of war should open our hearts up to shared humanity as we witness suffering and push us to end the suffering we see. And yet so often, war polarizes and somehow erodes our compassion rather than builds it, despite so many pictures and stories of beautiful lives stolen in Gaza. too many people fail to see Palestinians as fully human. And yet on the other side, rather than have his empathy increase, the individual who killed Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram outside a Jewish event in Washington, D.C. last week, utterly failed to see them as human. Crises can be, they should be, a time when empathy grows, and we have to work to make sure this is not a time when empathy shrinks. This brings me to my second hypothesis for why contemporary crises are pulling us apart rather than bringing us together. I think our ability to have dialogue across difference is also being badly eroded. Survey data shows we're increasingly politically polarized. We don't have as much opportunity to talk to debate with, to meet with people with very different ideas from us and to figure out how to see them as fully human, even when we sharply disagree. I'm told this has even made its way to dating apps. My wife and I started dating on campus, for what it's worth, so you never know who you're sitting next to today. But City College has a proud tradition of fostering debate. I even saw a movie once called Arguing the World about City College alums in the 1930s who, between Alcove 1 and Alcove 2, had some of the fiercest debates, and yet they went on to lead this city because they sharpened their thinking. They learned how to debate and disagree, to still understand the people in the other alcove were folks that they should dialogue and debate with. And yet, broadly, that capacity is being badly eroded. And this brings me to my third and final point. Right now, we lack institutions with enough trust to unify us to take on the big challenges that we're facing. Survey after survey shows it, from the federal government to the news media, to higher education, to unions, even to scientific and religious organizations. Historically respected institutions are losing people's confidence. And this means when those crises hit, people are more likely to blame institutions rather than mobilize around them as spaces for building shared response. And the cycle is one of recrimination rather than solidarity. But now look, many of our institutions have serious flaws, to be sure. But I believe they're worth fighting for, worth working to make better, and so do most Americans. More than 8 in 10 say that confidence in government, confidence in institutions can be increased by focusing on increasing transparency, by trying to have leaders who lead with integrity, by engaging and building community. That is what I have tried to do in my career as New York City Comptroller. That's New York City's Chief Accountability Officer, where I get to work with 700 public servants to make our city more transparent, try to make government more honest, more responsive to the needs of New Yorkers. There is still time, Island and Andrew. Look, you know we face big challenges. You feel it every day. But here's the good news. You, the City College graduating class of 2025, you represent powerful answers to every single one of those challenges. On the erosion of empathy, your stories are such powerful examples of human connection and perseverance against the hardest challenges of our time. I urge you to go out in the world and find ways to share those stories so other people get to know who you are and can be as proud of you as your parents are. It will make a difference. On our broken channels of communication, in your time on this campus, you've engaged in a great deal of dialogue and debate. That spirit of arguing the world, I know it's alive and well right here at City College. Keep it alive and well as you move out into the world. And finally, with respect to institutions, you are graduating from an institution in a city that is undoubtedly worthy of unifying around. City College, the flagship of the City University of New York, the most powerful vehicle of social uplift and mobility and collective progress in New York City, one of the most diverse and greatest cities on the planet. I think today, it is plain for all to see that your individual resilience, your personal struggles and triumphs, your brilliance and creativity, your courage and care for each other and your families and your communities, they can add up to a powerful collective response to not only the crises that we have faced in the past, but to the many challenges that you will face in the future. I can't wait to see you do it, whichever department you work in.
Thank you and congratulations to the City College graduating class of 2025. And good luck to another year.
I'm an international student whose journey began back in Caracas, Venezuela. And like many of you, I grew up with a lot of fears and doubt about making the wrong decision. But also, like many of you, I grew up with a burning desire to find myself. I knew there was something for me in this country that I could not find back home. But this decision came with many challenges that I'm sure most of you have faced as well. Culturally, as you can see, English is not my first language. Financially, I had to travel to another country and pay to get my visa. And academically, I simply didn't know how college worked. I really wonder what these 2 years will be like, and here we are today. Despite the fear and doubt, I really believe moments of uncertainty like this are some of the richest moments that we can have in our lives. My aunt, or mi titi, has always said to me, Andrea, si buscas el momento perfecto para tomar una decisión, entonces olvídalo, porque eso no existe. El momento perfecto es aquí y es ahora. Solo recuerda que eres única e irrepetible, así que no te dejes ni por nada ni por nadie, porque pa'lante es pa' allá. These words made me realize that our journeys truly begin once we're able to embrace life's uncertainty and choose opportunities over fear. My journey at BMCC began with nervousness. Motivated by a fear of failure, I was always on top of my assignments and performing well academically. However, I had yet to confront one of the biggest challenges that students have, and that was dealing with the, I don't know. As international students, and I'm sure students in general, we've often heard people tell us, I don't know if you can do this, or I don't know if you qualify for that. So I had to learn about my own limitations and how was I going to be able to take the opportunity to work 3 jobs at school, do research, and to be a full-time student. As BMCC students, I'm also sure we've had to learn how to ask for help in class when you don't know what is happening. Those moments gave me opportunity to appreciate those around me, office hours, and even having a supplemental instructor. Even when I became one myself, and I didn't know what to do sometimes, it was by working with students as a team that it made me realize that it was gratifying to know that no one has the right answers, but that when we unite, we can come close to them. I'm sure we all have shared, either through our academic achievements, by joining random raffles from the Office of Student Activities, by volunteering for Outing 2, I know Maria is here, so hi, or by teaching people which is the south side or north side of the main building. So many meaningful conversations with people. First of all, with all around the world, such as Myanmar, Colombia, the Philippines, Uzbekistan, Nigeria, and just to mention a few, with people from all different ages, with people that have mental, physical disabilities, with parents and even caretakers. And you know what? After all, my biggest takeaway is always the same. We're all showing up and we're all doing the best we can. Everyone in this room has some purpose that is leading them somewhere that they might or that might not be seeing yet. I used to think that doubting meant failing, but I have come to understand that the uncertainty that surrounds us actually gives us permission to explore the many possibilities out there. So I hope that if people can just remember one thing from what I am saying today, is that you must give yourself grace. I would like to conclude by reminding you to start here and go anywhere, right? Even if it's not your final destination, you're still on track to becoming who you envision to be. Because your success story should not be like other people's success story, because it is unique and it is all yours. So whenever you're in doubt, in fear, when you feel like you're not enough, remember that no one can take your effort and your accomplishments away from you. So class of 2025, may your next steps be guided, not by fear, but by the certainty you build by simply showing up. And to my family back in Venezuela, and my mom who's here, bendición, pronto nos reuniremos. So thank you for listening, gracias, and let's keep celebrating ourselves because we deserve it.